It's a big surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big surprise in terms of the timing. It was unexpected. After last year's poor performance, they've bounced back thus far really well. But I think it's admirable in a sense, and I totally understand it, that it's constant these days. And I think we've been preaching that about the schedules for players, but it's not just the players, it's the manager, it's the support staff. And so he clearly feels, and he mentioned the word is energy. He's clearly feeling that he's running out of energy, and if he totally runs out, and as he said, I'm not fully committed and I can't commit fully, we will see that effect on the team. And so 8.5 years or whatever it is a long time, but I think it makes you just understand that there have been others around the world that have done it, but Ferguson and Wenger, at the height of it in the Premier League for 20 plus years, to bash away at that every season and rebuild teams, I think it just tells you what an achievement that was when Jurgen Klopp, after 8.5 years, is saying, wow, I need to take a break.
It's also a very human reaction, I thought, from Jurgen Klopp, who has always kind of impressed me with just how seemingly down to earth and approachable he is. And then that understanding that, I'm running out of energy. And in the interview, he says he started feeling that way back in September, let the club hierarchy know a couple of months later, and now he's coming public with it. So it's just that, so often in this game, we kind of look at or maybe feel and treat people involved with this, players or managers, almost as though they're machines. And the truth is, it takes its toll, and that's exactly what Jurgen Klopp is saying here. And you really do have to sympathise. And while to Craig's point, there are so many who've kind of done it incessantly over decades and been very successful at it. Pep Guardiola took a sabbatical after leaving Barcelona. So you understand that this job does take its toll on some of the best in the business.
There's a lot of speculation as to what was it that pushed Jurgen Klopp over the edge and just thought, I can't do this anymore. Some are suggesting, Nedum, your interview with him at Craven Cottage asking about verticals and long balls was the breaking point.
Yeah, Dan, I think that is perfectly fair. That really is fair, especially given the fact that, he'd already spoken to 2-3 other people, given interviews about the game, and then he sees me waiting in this little room next to the cottage to ask him about vertical balls. Of course he's not interested. And I think, as the guys were saying there, you see Ferguson, you see Wenger, the amount of time that they had, and those eras were so important for the Premier League. But even in this era now, I'd argue that it's probably more engaging because everybody has more access. Klopp didn't want to speak to me after that game. So then imagine that 60 times a year. He doesn't want to have to speak to 5, 6, 7 people. He probably just wants to focus on other things. But that role as a Premier League manager now, it's a lot more expansive, I believe. And for him, he's been through it for so many years. And even though, we all love the game of football, at times that journey into work can be different depending on what your mentality is as you arrive there. So it's going to be a shame for Liverpool, a shame for the Premier League that one of the most consequential managers in the Premier League era is going to be leaving. But the fact is, I think we're going to see the best version of Liverpool between now and the end of the season. And I think he'll rightly be celebrated because he came and he raised the bar. I think there are lots of people who watch the league now and forget that Liverpool weren't this side that were always challenging for titles, a side that weren't necessarily always going to be feared throughout Europe. But that's exactly what they are. And I think he's a big part of that. And some of the players that we've seen across the years, they enter the conversations about some of the best ever in the Premier League, whether we're talking about the likes of Van Dijk, talking about the likes of Salah and others. So I think it is a shame. The timing, obviously, is because of me sticking the knife in, saying enough's enough for you, Jurgen. But he will be celebrated, and rightly so.
Alexis, what was your reaction when you heard?
Do you know what, Dan? And I know you're probably going to have a little cheeky smirk when I say this, but I was absolutely gutted because I don't know what Nedum's talking about. I absolutely love talking to Jurgen Klopp after matches. He always gives me some of the best energy I think I've experienced post-match, whether it's a win, whether it's a loss, whether it's a draw. And he truly is a manager that's one of a kind. And obviously we've had the experiences of being able to speak to a number of big, great managers, big, great names. I'm talking about the Pep Guardiolas, Sir Alex Ferguson's, Cholo Simeone's as well, Carlo Ancelotti's. And I think Jurgen Klopp is right up there definitely with them, but he's almost in a different box in and of itself because he's so personable. He's so human, as Shaka was alluding to. He is that kind of rock star uncle, which I remember Andy Robertson 4 years ago when I interviewed him said that that's the kind of vibe he has, but he manages to balance both. He, of course, has that kind of fear factor that many will tell you every great coach has, the ones that kind of rule with iron fists, but you wouldn't exactly want to go and have a drink with them after. But Jurgen Klopp manages to do both. We've seen how he rallies around his players, how they have become family, how they would absolutely go to war for him every time they step out on the pitch, and it's exactly like that behind the scenes. He's the first one that will throw a party for them to celebrate them, and I think it's really the end of an era, and Liverpool fans here, you can feel the sadness, you can feel the worry, because it's almost like, how do you move on from what probably could be one of Liverpool's most iconic managers of all time?